Welcome to the Tattoo Marketing Podcast. On this week's episode, we have Casey Richardson, a marketing agency owner who used to work at Yelp. And we're going to talk about the insider secrets of Yelp, how important it actually is, getting more reviews, and the importance of omnipresence. And I'll be honest, guys, I haven't been a big proponent of Yelp the last couple years until talking to Casey. It's a very powerful tool that is not being utilized enough. So, great episode. Enjoy.
Yeah, my name's Casey Richardson. I'm the partner and co-founder over at Craft Agency Group. Before I started a marketing agency, I worked at Yelp and did a lot of sales for them and learned a lot about local listings and management and all that good stuff. So, yeah.
Got it. And how long were you at Yelp for?
I was at Yelp for about a year and a half.
Okay.
Yeah.
What'd you think about it? How'd you like working there?
I mean, people have a love-hate relationship with Yelp for sure.
Yes.
I basically lost all my clients overnight. I was freelancing, COVID hit, and all my clients just pretty much evaporated overnight as a freelancer. So I had to go back into the corporate world, and Yelp was it was a good opportunity at the time, and definitely saved a lot of my stability through COVID and kind of getting I was still able to help local businesses, which is what I'm passionate about, and that was a way for me to do that and learn a lot in the process and get paid for it. So, it made a lot of sense.
Yeah, I bet that was a great learning experience.
Yeah, it was, man. It was a ton. It's really cool to see. Obviously, Yelp is multi-billion-dollar corporation, right? So they've put a lot of money and time into investing in really good sales tactics, and the training was just top notch. So, but aside from the sales side, I also just learned a ton about local marketing. And, they do a really good job of trying to go the extra mile with all the reps. And, I've worked with a ton of reps at Yelp, and some of them are hit and miss, but
Yeah, that's everywhere.
That's like it everywhere. Exactly.
Yeah.
So, if you get a really good rep, which is not uncommon, you can see some power come out of Yelp for sure.
Got it. So, I mean, I guess the biggest question is why put your time and effort into Yelp over something like Google or Google Ads or SEO or any of the other things?
Yeah, it's a piece of the puzzle, and I think that's something that a lot of people just, if you think about the usual relationship between most local business owners and Yelp, what tends to happen is they claim their page sometimes.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
They fill it out once and, just kind of go through those basic steps of, what's the business owner's name? What's your story? What are your hours, right? They fill out all the basic info. And then they pretty much just leave it at that. Every once in a while, they'll get a review that comes in, and then they get mad because it's like, oh, it's this 1-star. Oh, my friend left a review, but it didn't stick. And, so a lot of people tend to focus on the negative side of it when you're first kind of getting going, because every little negative thing has a bigger impact when you're small and you're just kind of getting off the ground. Right. So, but if you learn how to use the platform the proper way, you do a couple different tweaks and you go a little bit further than where most people take it. It's a platform that can really work for you, not against you. And if you can just figure out how to go those extra steps and you figure out those tweaks, which I'm sure we'll talk about today, it can really turn into a powerhouse for you. And the people that kill it on Yelp, man, they kill it on Yelp. So it's like just doing a little bit of extra work, man. That's it. But if you can go past what most other business owners do, it's powerful.
I could imagine, because I mean, these days everybody has a Google My Business. Everybody's looking at SEO, and even I don't know honestly a ton about Yelp. So this is what I do.
Yeah.
So I could imagine. I mean, in the tattoo industry, marketing is still very much like in the 90s. Some people do Google
For
ads,
sure.
but they're using like smart ads. So it's really
Yeah.
easy to do good marketing when you know what you're doing. And so what I'm kind of getting the feeling is if you learn a little bit about Yelp and put some time in, it's the juice is worth the squeeze 100%.
Yeah, I mean, I have spent a lot of time in tattoo studios in my life, and I can tell you from firsthand experience. I mean, it's reputation based, right? Like that's
100%.
what the referrals that come to the tattoo studios in the world, it's people who either found you on social media through organic word of mouth, people who were tagged or tagged their artist, or like a literal question of, hey, I'm getting my first tattoo, where should I go? And I get that question all the time. Right.
Yeah.
So people come, oh, you're tattooed, where should I go? So it's definitely word of mouth based, but the new word of mouth is reviews, right?
Mhm.
And if you're not paying attention to it on all the platforms on where those reviews are, then you're just simply not meeting your customers where they're at, right? There are people who have search intent to try and find local tattoo studios that are reputable in their area. If you don't pay attention to the platforms where those reviews are left, then you're not even in the conversation. And how can you expect to grow? Right? That's really the key. So when you have that shift of mindset oh, people just leave me bad reviews, like figure out how to claim that and reclaim that back and use that to your advantage. And that's what needs to happen in order to see success on the platform.
Definitely. 100% makes sense. So let's say, again, I know a few shop owners that do use Yelp, but it sounds like exactly what you explained. Like they claim their page, done, never touch it
That's
again.
the end of it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Um,
Yeah.
so when someone goes and claims their page, what are the next steps? I mean, what should people be doing?
Yeah. So there's a couple, free steps. We'll start there, right? So because Yelp advertising is definitely a controversial thing, and I'll get into that too. But let's start with the free stuff, right? So generally speaking, from what I've been told by Yelp developers and that the whole development team and kind of like the inside town halls and everything that we did at the company while I was there, if there's a feature on Yelp, they want you using it. It's very similar to Google in that sense. Same thing with like organic reach on social. So think about Instagram, right? They rolled out stories, reels, guides, like all these different features. If you use them, your impressions go up. Whoa. Imagine, right? So it's the same thing with Yelp, right? And it's no different than any other platform. So if you have a section in your onboarding to fill something out and you skip it because you're like, oh, I'll come back to that. Keep it real. You're never going to come back with it, right? Just fill it out. And give it the information that it needs. It's the same with SEO. Google My Business, your website. It's at the end of the day, the internet is just one giant computer. It's only as smart as the information that you give it. So unless you're giving it the information about your business that it's asking for, you're not going to show up and search for those keywords and all the things like that. So you want to try and feed into that as much as you possibly can. So if there's a form for you to fill out or a section for you to add content to, just make sure that you do it. That's the biggest thing. Add photos. You would be amazed at how many Yelp listings I look at, and it's one photo. For tattoo studios specifically, right? For your audience, tell me one tattoo artist on the planet today that doesn't take a picture of their work after that piece is complete. Right?
Yeah.
Okay. And they're most likely, unless they don't like the person, they're most likely putting it on social, right?
Yeah.
So work Yelp into that mix. It doesn't have to be daily, but you can do it weekly. Take all your photos of all the pieces you did during the week and just upload them to Yelp. Simple, right? Having a QR code in the studio asking, hey, post an image. I'll text you the photo right now. Post an image of the tattoo we just did and leave a review. Huge help, right? And if you want to dabble into incentivizing reviews and all that stuff, I'm happy to talk about that too. But I'll leave it at that for now, and I'll let you guide the conversation on where you want to go.
Well, I was actually having this conversation with a tattoo shop owner earlier today. I was in the studio.
Yeah.
We were having a little conversation about marketing, about incentivizing people to leave a review. Like we have some automation set up when somebody fills out a consent form, they get a request for a review 24 hours later.
Okay.
and I mean, it works great. We've been about 60 5-star reviews in the last like 4 months.
Yeah.
But that's still only like 20% of people leaving reviews. So what can we do to incentivize them to leave them more?
The biggest opportunity for incentivizing is asking in the first place, which it sounds like all of your clients that you work with, you're doing that, which is fantastic. That's more than what most businesses will ever touch. So even if it's only 20%, I would say the next step of what you could do is follow up if they haven't, or do some sort of reactivation if they haven't. Adding a tag in that automation to, confirm once a review comes in. If you can do that, that would be really cool. But in terms of incentivizing, you can say something along the lines of, you got to be careful not to break terms and agreements. So, what I would recommend is if you bulk the review request with something else. So if you call it like just like a general survey feedback kind of deal, and you work it into where it's like, hey, what did you think of your experience? How was all this? Blah blah blah. And if you incentivize the feedback form, not the review. Okay. So the feedback form, you can say, we give away $100 gift card every month to anyone who fills out this feedback form. And then at the end of the feedback form, it says, thanks so much for the feedback. Would you like to leave a review? Okay. Right. You're not incentivizing the review, which comes after the survey. You're incentivizing the survey. Right. Low workaround.
Got it. That makes sense.
Read your terms of service. Don't yell at me if you get yelled at for it, but that's what I would do.
Yeah. Okay. And that's, honestly, something that I hadn't even thought about. So what we were going to try to test is sending out a text with the, please leave us a review. If you do, we'll give you 10% off in the next 2 months. Sounds like that's something that might not go with terms and services.
Yeah, I would probably stay away from that. And then also that offer, I feel like could just be stronger, right? Like if you get on average, how many jobs is a tattoo studio doing in a month, roughly? Ballpark it for me. You work with them every day.
Yeah, probably 100, 150.
Okay.
And wild highs and lows between shops.
Okay, but let's just say 100 for easy math, right? So if right now you're getting a 20% review rate, that's about 20 a month. Yeah. Okay. So if we could get that up to an additional 10 to 15% and get it to 30, 35 a month, and then you give away $100 gift card once a month in order to do that, then that $100 gift card becomes much more valuable. Right. So for me, I would pay, $4 to $5 a review. If it was a genuine customer and I was increasing my review rate from that, that's super worth it to me. So for most shop owners, that shouldn't be an issue. But if you make it a more attractable offer and, go with like $100 gift card instead of 10% off your next tattoo or something, or something like I would go for a monetary thing to really kind of bait them in and hook them.
Got it. Yeah. I like the gift card idea. I'm a huge fan of when you're doing an offer is a dollar number off. It just, with even in the same studio, people charge so much different per hour. Yeah. But I love the idea of the gift card. That's a good workaround for that. That would be perfect.
For sure. Yeah.
Okay. So reviews are obviously important. What's the advantage of sending them to ask for a review on Yelp over somewhere like Google or Facebook or something like that?
Yeah, I would say, to be honest with you, in full transparency, the biggest advantage is asking for that review to go to Google instead of Yelp. With Yelp, you're going to run into the friction of needing to sign in before they can leave a review. So if they're not already signed into Yelp and they don't actively use the platform, then there's going to be that friction of create an account or, whereas most people have a Gmail account or a work account that's linked to Google. So there's less friction in that process of doing it. But I guess that's a good segue into talking about Yelp ads and their platform. So one of the things that a lot of people don't really understand is if you spend a couple bucks a day on Yelp ads and people find you on Yelp, people are more likely to leave a review on the platform that they found you on initially, right? It just makes sense. They're actively on that platform. They're seeking your service. It makes sense. If they find you on Google, they leave a Google review. If they find you on Yelp, they leave a Yelp review. If they find you on social, they'll review you on social, right? Or tag you on social or share you or something, right? So with Yelp, the trick to that, especially in the tattoo space, I would imagine there's not a ton of tattoo studios that are running Yelp ads. So first of all, there's a big opportunity there. I did the entire West Coast was my sales region. I think I maybe talked to, I would say, probably 5 or 6 tattoo studios that were interested in Yelp ads during my entire time there. So big opportunity there, just right out the gates. But if you spend like $5 a day on Yelp ads, $150 a month, right? It's nothing. And if you do that, you are increasing your chances of getting found on the platform tremendously. because if there's no one else running Yelp ads in your category, big opportunity. So you become one of the only advertisers. If you can sustain that amount of money for a long period of time, that's when you see your win. Okay. It's the same thing with any other ad platform. The longer you do it, the more optimized the campaign becomes, the more results you're going to get for your every dollar you put in. So I would say, like, if you're going to do it for a 1 year track. Just commit $150, kiss the money goodbye for a year, and just accept that it's going to take time. Okay. And if you go into it with that mindset, you're going to slay the game. Yeah. Because you can incrementally increase that too as you start to see results, but just baseline it. Just say, I'm going to commit $150 a month for a year, and do that to gain the traction in the market. Okay. And it will happen. It'll happen over time, and it'll start slow. But as you get more reviews, as you get more profile clicks, as people start leaving more reviews, they start uploading photo content, your page is optimized, all that good stuff, the ads are going to perform better over time. So, but I would go with $5 a day for an ad budget to get started, kind of get your feet wet with it. They have a page upgrades feature on Yelp, and it's an extra, like, I forget the amounts, don't quote me on this, but let's say works out to another $5 to $10 a day on page upgrades. I think it's like $5 for everything. There's one feature in particular called Yelp Connect. Okay. This is basically like putting a little Instagram postable feature on your Yelp page. So it's kind of like Instagram stories. You can put a post, you can write a little blurb of content. It's like a Google post, like a Google My Business post. Same exact idea. There's one very big difference maker there. Okay. And that's what Yelp uses for their community email blasts. So I'm in San Diego. If I'm looking for tattoo shops on Yelp, Yelp will know that, and it'll say, here's all the top 10 tattoo shops in San Diego. Guess where they're pulling that from?
Got it.
Okay.
Got it.
Or if I'm looking for restaurants or, whatever, here's the top 10 restaurants to visit this weekend. And guess where they pull that content from, right? Another huge benefit to advertising on Yelp in general is the indirect SEO that Yelp brings to the table. Okay. Someone searches for tattoo shops in San Diego. Yelp is probably number 2 or 3 on that search, right? Outside of the map pack. Yeah. So you click into Yelp. The headline, I believe, on almost every city is the top tattoo shops in San Diego is what it'll say. You click there. If you're an advertiser, guess who shows up first? Right?
Yeah.
So now you're getting that indirect SEO benefit by partnering with them. Another huge thing that a lot of people don't understand is they partner with Apple Maps to feed all of the listing information and reviews to not only Apple Maps, but voice search with Siri.
Oh, wow.
Okay. That's huge.
Yeah.
So when you ask Siri, I'll do it literally right now. Hey, Siri, find me a tattoo shop. Okay. So here's Apple Maps.
Yeah.
And it's a little blurry, but it's got a review count, and it says from Yelp.
Huh.
Okay.
Yeah.
So the top one is Grand Legacy Tattoo down the street from me. 36 reviews on Yelp, and I can almost guarantee they're an advertiser. So
got it.
When you think about all the ancillary benefits from there, right, and you kind of work it like that, it's a big deal. And a lot of people just don't know how to work it. But I mean, I'm telling you, $5 to $10 a day, right? $300 a month. It's like, it's not a lot. That's a very small tattoo.
Yeah, no joke.
Like, I think that's what I paid to get like a couple small ones done, you know? So if you're getting, one small tattoo a month out of putting that in, it pays for itself. Right. And then, but there's a lot of ancillary benefits from there, and you will most likely close some very large deals from, doing it like that, as long as your work is great and you're a reputable shop.
Oh yeah. 100%. That's pretty awesome, man. Yeah. I didn't know that stuff. I just, I know when you search for tattoo shops near me, wherever you are, it's usually, Yelp is always the first or second one. And then you click on it and it's got a list, but I didn't know it led into Apple's Maps or
Yeah.
Apple Maps or anything with Siri. So that is huge.
It's huge. It's huge, man. So, but again, it goes back to it's a piece of the puzzle. And
Mhm.
you gotta, it's all gonna work together. Your reputation as a whole needs to be good on every platform, not just one. You need to have a presence on every platform, not just one. And really kind of focusing on that omnipresence strategy with marketing is super important. But if you work Yelp into the mix, it's more than just on the surface having a Yelp listing and getting reviews there. It's deeper than that. And when you unlock that, super powerful.
Yeah, one of the things that we really like to preach is a mixture of omnipresence and don't put all your eggs in one basket. Because I mean,
Yeah.
we all remember what happened when iOS 14 came out and
Oh yeah.
everybody only running Facebook ads got screwed for like
Yep.
6 months until we found workarounds.
Yep.
Um, but yeah, so, and especially for something that's not that expensive. I mean, even if
Not.
you're spending $10 a day, that
Yeah.
the compounding effect with everything else sounds, I mean, amazing.
Yeah. And I mean, you're like the reps are definitely trained to like go hard on upsells. So just expect that. And if you're talking to them, it's been a while since I left the company to start my own agency, but if you anticipate that it's their job to sell you, not to get you results,
Hmm.
right? That's their job. So I'm telling you from firsthand experience what will get you results. I get zero kickback or any benefit from telling you how to, kind of work the system here and get your results. What actually works is doing low dollar amount spend for a sustained period of time. Okay. And whatever any rep tells you, last time I checked, everything is still a minimum of $5 a day for ad spend. If they tell you anything different, you know, question it is what I would suggest. They're probably going to come at you with, oh, you spend $20 a day, blah, blah, blah. And yeah, that's, ultimately you do want to try and get there to get some great results. But to get started, start low, start with whatever the minimum is and, work your way up.
Yeah, and I mean any platform. I mean, how many calls a day does everybody get from Facebook reps? Or
Oh,
you
yeah.
go, yeah, you go into
Yeah.
Google and you look at their recommendations, and you're like, all this is going to do is spend more money and get me worse results. Like,
Yeah.
why would I do any of these? So
I
that
mean,
makes
from
sense.
from a sales perspective, it was pretty cool because we did have some visibility to see like when somebody logged into their account and if they were poking around the ads page, like we could see when business owners do that. It would show up as like, hey, this person was recently on the ads page. Then you can call and say, hey, this is Casey calling from Yelp. Saw you were poking around on the ads page. Do you have any questions for me? Right. So we had a lot of warm leads like that, which was pretty cool from a sales perspective. But just be conscious of that they have the tools to like see that.
That makes sense. Does not surprise me at all.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
Big brother was always watching.
100%, 100%, man. Um, so you go into Yelp, you claim your page, you build out this ad. You have this ad running. Is there optimization stuff to do to it? Is it like obviously with Google, we go in once a week for all of our clients where we make tweaks and look at the data. Um, if it's Facebook or Instagram, you have images that burn out and copy that burns out that needs to be changed. How
Sure.
does it work with Yelp?
I would say it's definitely more comparable to like Google ads than Facebook and Instagram ads.
Okay.
There's not really like a creative fatigue element to it. But you definitely do want to go in. You want to make sure like your negative keywords are set. That's a big deal. For example, if someone's looking for restaurants, but you're not open for breakfast, you want a negative keyword breakfast, right?
Got it.
So, same thing with tattoos. Like you might not want to show up for piercing studios if you don't
Mhm.
do piercing on site or something like that. But aside from that, it's pretty simple. For the most part, it doesn't take a lot to manage. You pop in, I have my team pop in on all of our Yelp ad accounts, once a week just to kind of make sure that everything's looking good. And then we just do simple monthly reporting from it. But for the most part, you do a pretty in-depth setup. Just make sure that everything's good. Hit all your negative keywords. Optimize the page itself. And once you do that, you're pretty much smooth sailing.
Got it. And so kind of echoing something that you said earlier about, you've talked to like 5 tattoo shops. I think I've only talked to, it's probably been 2 or 3 shop owners that run Yelp ads. I mean, only 2 or 3 out of all of them that I've talked to.
Yeah.
So, and I mean, again, it's kind of the same with Google going into expert mode. It's just such a wide open market because nobody does it.
Yeah.
With such low competition, I mean, obviously there's a lot of factors that go into it, but how long would people expect before they start getting calls from that before or filling out forms? And also kind of with that, are you sending people to your website? Are you sending them to a landing page? What are the best practices?
Yeah. So with Yelp, what you're doing is you're basically boosting your listing is basically what you're doing. So it's driving people to the listing, and then wherever your listing sends people, that's where people end up.
Got it.
So it could be a link to a calendar to book a consultation. It could be direct to your website. It could be your Instagram profile if that's your main portfolio. However you want to do that. But there's specific call to action buttons on the page that you can set up, and based on that, that's where people will end up. You can also set up messaging on Yelp for some industries. I'm not 100% sure if you can do that with tattoo shops, but I believe you can.
Okay.
There's like a request a quote option. That's a pretty common thing in like home services. We saw a lot of that, but I would imagine you could probably set that up for tattoo shops. Don't hold me to that one though. But
Okay. Yeah.
What was the other part of the question?
Since I mean, my guess would be it's such a
How long
wide
for
open.
results?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
So
again, I know it's
yeah. No, I get it. I get you. Yeah. So I mean, I think the thought with all forms of advertising is it's the amplification of your foundations, right? So the results that you get are going to be based off of how good is your website, how good is your work, how strong is your reputation, and you put all those things together, and then ad spend is just the gas on the fire, right? So with Yelp or Google or Facebook ads or anything, it's going to come down to how strong is that foundation and how high can you build it up from there after that foundation is built, right? So I think it's impossible to say, you should expect results within X amount of days. Like there's no way to fully say that. But what I can say is if you have a strong foundation, if you've already got a decent amount of reviews, your page is optimized, it can be as soon as next day.
Oh, well, yeah.
Yeah. So, but I mean, you could say that with Facebook ads too, and it can take 2 weeks, before a lead comes in. So it also factors in like, what city are you in? How many people are actually looking for tattoos in that city? Are you a small city or a big city? Travel destination, not a travel destination. There's a million different factors that play into it. But, I do think that generally speaking, if the foundation is strong and you're putting a few bucks a day at it, results should happen pretty quick from it. But the biggest thing to remember is be able to sustain that ad spend. If you just try it for 30 days and you're like, oh, I'm not getting any leads, screw this, I'm out, right? Then of course it's going to be a waste of money. You have to have the long-term mindset with it. And over time, it will get better and it'll continue to grow. And if you have that long-term mindset for at least, I would do a minimum 3 months. But if you can, just anticipate that you're going to be spending the money for a year. And at the end of that year, you're going to come out strong.
Yeah, I like that that mindset. Because again, I mean, it may be, with Facebook, it can be, 2 weeks, it can be a little bit longer. Again, some days it's like day 2, day 3. Same with Google ads. But the longer you go, it's always in any platform. I feel like the better it's going to get. So I think any shop owner doing any kind of advertising should take that mentality into any advertising they're doing. Like we'll talk to a lot of shop owners who'll be like, hey, I boosted this post on Instagram for a week. I didn't get any results. Like, well, yeah. Yeah, it was, $10 a day for 7 days. That's not a marketing
exactly.
campaign.
I mean, marketing as a whole needs to be, a lot of business owners think it's a silver bullet. It's not. If you're getting sold on that, I would reevaluate your agency that you're working with at that point. It's not a silver bullet. There needs to be the realistic expectation. Most agencies can give you legitimate quick wins, right? But you need to look at marketing as a long-term investment. It's a long-term relationship with your agency. And if you don't have that relationship, then how can you expect to have sustainable growth over time, right? And that's really the key to all marketing, in my opinion. Yelp ads is no exception to that, and Google ads is no exception to that. Same with paid social. It's all going to take some time, optimize over time, small incremental changes, make big wins. That's it.
Yep. And then just stacking them on top of each other, a new layer,
Stack
a new
wins,
layer.
man. That's it. Exactly. Yep.
Yeah. So what are any tips, tricks, tweaks, biggest mistakes you see in outside of the, claiming your page if you've claimed it and then just leaving it for the rest of eternity?
Yeah. I think I get asked this a lot. Like a lot of people ask, what can I do to be better on Yelp as a whole? And my best answer to you is do more than what anyone else is doing, right? And treat it as a legitimate part of your marketing mix. If you treat it like you treat Facebook and Instagram, if you treat it like TikTok, if you treat it where it's like a protected account that adds value to your business, right? If you treat it like that, you're going to get a lot more out of it. So think about the perception of the customer. If they come to your page, there's negative reviews that aren't being responded to. How does that make you look? Right? If you're not saying to thank you to all the positive reviews that are coming in, how does that look? Right? If you have a page where it's got basic info, an out-of-date phone number, your hours are wrong, it's the public perception of your brand, like that should be protected, right? But a lot of people just don't put the effort into that. So if you're not willing to put the time and effort into controlling your online presence, why should I trust that you're going to put the time and effort to put permanent ink on my body that I have to live with for the rest of my life? Right.
Yeah.
And if it's that care, and you need to associate that from the consumer perspective and the psychology of that and what that does to represent your brand. And these people are trusting you to put art on their body that is going to live with them until the day that they die. And even beyond that,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Like that is forever. So they are putting their trust into you, and you need to be able to represent your brand online in a way that makes people trust you when they discover you, if you want to win their business. And if I have 2 tattoo shops that are side by side, I've got 500 reviews versus 6 reviews. Even if they both have a 5-star rating, I'm going to go with the ones that have more because I trust that they've done it more. Right.
Well, yeah, if it's a 4.7 with 500 versus a 500 with 6, I'm going with the 4.7.
Yeah, exactly. Because it's the quantity game. And even if you take reviews out of the equation and you just look at a complete listing versus an incomplete listing with outdated info, right? Who would you trust?
Yeah.
It's pretty straightforward, but business owners just don't think like that for whatever reason. And you need to, I'm very big when I tell all of my clients, everyone on my team, we need to meet the customer where they're at. That's like my biggest motto. I say it at least once a day to somebody. And if you meet your customer where they're at, you have the right messaging in place with the right offer, you have the right audience that you're talking to, there's no way you can't win. So,
yeah. Agreed. I think one of the biggest misconceptions, and honestly, I'm learning more about it right now just talking to you, is when a lot of people think of Yelp, they think of the app on the phone.
Yeah.
Nobody really uses anymore, not understanding that those listings show up like usually as one of the top search results for Google. Yeah. I'm just learning it shows up for Apple products and stuff like that. Because there's definitely, I would say 100%, 99% of the time, close to 100% of the time. If you look at a shop's Google reviews and Yelp reviews are always just horrible because nobody pays attention. No shop owners pay attention to Yelp, not knowing that it's going to show up when somebody's searching on Apple.
Yeah, but think about the opportunity that's there if you do.
It's huge.
Right? It's huge, man. So I think, just learn how to tweak the way that you approach the platform, and it'll work for you, not against you. But you've got to put that effort in. You get out of it what you put into it. As cheesy as that sounds, it's real. And, a little bit goes a very long way on that platform.
And so if somebody doesn't have like Yelp set up, they haven't claimed it at all, do they just go to yelp.com? And is it kind of like setting up a GMB or a Google My Business?
Same exact process. Yeah. I think it's biz.yelp.com, like biz.yelp.com, I think is what it is. But yeah, Yelp is really good about having like a basic page already pulled and scraped from all of the other listings that exist for your business. So if you have a Google listing, chances are you have a Yelp listing. You just have to go in and claim it. It's a marketing strategy that works very well. It's like, hey, you have a listing, you haven't claimed it. Do you want to claim it? Yeah. And, claiming it's the first step to having control over it. And I would assume you want to have control over what's presented about your business online. So definitely claim your page. Definitely claim your page, and just start there and fill out the basics. It takes, I would say, probably 10 minutes to fill out the basics. But instead of doing what everyone else does and just taking 10 minutes, spend half an hour with it, right? And look at the Yelp ads program and see if it makes sense for your business with where you're at. If you can afford to do $150 to $300 a month in ad spend, which is marginal for a tattoo studio, I would imagine, you should be able to afford that. And if you're willing to invest that, go for at least 3 months, try and go for 12 months, give it that time and, let that sink in and let it grow and pay attention to it. Even if you do, I would assume that most tattoo shop owners are probably on Instagram every day, right? Probably. If they open up their feed, they're engaging with people there. Like that's probably how it is. Even if you're checking in on Yelp twice a week, right? It doesn't have to be multiple times a day like you do Instagram. Just check on it a couple times a week and you'll be doing more than what most other business owners are doing. It's crazy. Like the opportunity there is so big, but it just takes a little bit of extra work. That's it.
Yeah, and that's kind of what we advise people to do with their Google My Business as well. Is it doesn't have to be an everyday thing. At least once a week, if not twice. Just go in there, upload some of the pictures that are already on your phone, because you can post to that like Instagram. So yeah, it does. It sounds like you can just stack those together, and probably doesn't take more than a couple minutes.
No, and again, I think the biggest, most powerful element of Yelp is Yelp Connect. I mean, that feature alone is worth the investment into a few bucks a day. Being able to make posts on your Yelp page, same way you would as Google, and being able to tap into the email distribution network that they have. I mean, think about in San Diego, right? I think our city's population is like, oh gosh, I'm going to sound dumb if I get this wrong, but I want to say it's just under 2 million, I think. But imagine, let's just say you live in a city that has 2 million people. Let's just say that. Think about how many of those people Yelp has an email for, right? I mean, I would venture to say it's probably half of them.
Yeah.
Really. At some point, at least half of them have probably gone to Yelp to find a restaurant at some point in their life, right? So chances are Yelp has their email. So you get a massive database of people that can be contacted for what you do. And Yelp is smart enough. They've spent a lot of money developing search intent and figuring out how to map their email campaigns around search intent. So if you, just as an exercise, if you're a Yelp user and you've signed in, do a search for Yelp on your emails and see what emails have come to you in the past. And you'd be amazed you were like, oh yeah, I was looking for a plumber last week. That's crazy. Yeah. But it's for a reason. It's because they're very good at what they do. They have a lot of money to invest in stuff like that. So you just need to think behind the scenes and use those resources that are available to you. And again, $5 a day for ad spend, $5 a day for page upgrades, you're $300 a month and you get access to something like that. That's like such a no-brainer to me. And it's got sustainability to it too. It's a really low investment for the long term. So
yeah, it is a really low investment for a long-term marketing strategy.
Yeah, it's a lot of upside, man. So, and the Siri integration and all that stuff. I mean, that's huge.
Yeah. Yeah, that blows my mind, man. I didn't know that was fed by Yelp. That's
well, and think about
a game changer.
Yeah, think about CarPlay.
Yeah.
Apple Home, Apple TV, right? Like we all know that voice search is, Gary Vee has been talking about it for 2 freaking years at this point, right? We all know that voice search is a very big thing and the future of commerce and, all that, it's going to translate into the local marketplace as well. It's not just Amazon, right? Yeah. And, if you think about the convenience and where shopping is heading as a whole, and you look at that and how Yelp is at the forefront of that with the direct integration to Apple, that's big.
It's huge.
Huge. So, but again, it just goes over people's heads. No one knows.
Yeah. I mean, honestly, after this, I'm going to do some deep dives into it and try it out with a couple clients. And
yeah, man.
Yeah.
It's big time. It's big time. So
yeah. Yeah. It's one of those things, man. Every once in a while you have a conversation like this where you just get something you're like, this is what I do. I love marketing. It is like, I enjoy my job. I love working with tattoo shops. And every once in a while you have this conversation with somebody and you're like, you just get your mind blown and you're like, I had no clue. I had no clue about Yelp. I never had no clue it was so powerful.
Yeah, but that gives you leverage now too with all of your clients, right? You know something that not at all, even marketing agencies don't know this stuff,
Yeah.
right? And that's something that I've been able to leverage from my agency. Like we have across 50 plus different locations, we manage 1,700 listings.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so we do a lot of this. Like reputation is at the core of what we do, and you know, from learning that and having all those conversations, every single time I talk to a business owner and I tell them, hey, do a search on voice search right now for you and or for what you do and see if you show up. You
Yeah.
don't? That's because you're not on Yelp.
Yeah. Yeah.
Easy fix.
Easy fix.
Easy fix, man.
And the fact that, I mean, you spoke at Seven Figure Agency, right? You did.
I did.
Yeah, I remember that. And so for people that don't know, that's a group that we're both in that is agency owners like us that all get together and try to get better at what we do and, you know, share the latest tips and tricks. And I remember seeing that. I was like, Yelp. I've never heard anybody in this group of 500 plus high level agency owners talk about Yelp.
Yeah.
That's how much of like a crazy opportunity and how far it flies under the radar, which is
It's low hanging fruit, man.
Really?
It's got a lot. You know what? To be honest with you, I don't even know if I touched too much on the voice search thing in Seven Figure Agency. I don't think I touched on that too much. I think I glanced over it a little bit, but it was towards the end of my presentation. So we went deeper on this for sure.
Yeah.
So hopefully that adds some value to your audience, man. I hope that it really is low hanging fruit, and you personally need to integrate that into your agency 100%.
Definitely.
But I mean, your entire audience, if you're not taking advantage of Yelp, you're missing out on a huge opportunity. And that result that I showed you that I said had like 30 reviews when I did the voice search, right? The next one under that I saw had like 168. So the difference between those two being number one and number two, when I said I can almost guarantee that's an advertiser, that one tattoo shop being an advertiser with only 30 something reviews outranked in voice search on a mobile device someone with triple to quadruple the reviews.
Yeah.
Right? That's powerful.
That's very powerful. All right. Yeah, I'm gonna have to play with this when we get off this call.
Go for it, man.
So a lot of the times we do webinars and podcasts and stuff like that, a lot of the people that listen are either artists with like single shop artists. Anyway, or they are trying to figure out how to build up their own clientele and they work out another shop.
Okay.
If you don't have, like, let's say you're not the shop owner, are you still able to make some kind of a profile on Yelp?
Yeah, you should be able to. You know, like I said, I've only worked with 5 to 6 tattoo shops at Yelp, so I can't say with absolute certainty. But I would assume it's very comparable to like a home services business where you just don't have a physical location on Yelp. You just do like a service area.
Okay.
And that's another hack to that is if you set up a service area, unlike Google, which it still pulls where the searcher is.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, Yelp does that to an extent, but it's not the sole ranking factor to that. So service areas, you know, if I'm in North San Diego, and I have a service area that hits all the way to South San Diego, if I'm a tattoo artist and the search is happening in South San Diego, it'll still show up and I could still rank number 1 for that. Wow. Even though there's, you know, a 50-mile difference between where I'm actually at and where the searcher is. So it's less impactful than it is on Google for service areas.
Got it. Yeah. And one of the things I remember with Google when I, the first business I ever created, I used my house as the listing and it pulled in a picture of my house on my GMB.
No.
I could not get it removed and it drove me nuts. Yeah. How unprofessional does that look? You know,
exactly.
I mean, we worked out of the house and we shipped all the stuff out of the house, but it was like,
no, I get it. I mean, service area, setting that up as a radius is definitely your play. Okay. It shouldn't be difficult to pick up the phone and call Yelp support. Their support team is actually pretty great, believe it or not.
That was going to be my next question. Yeah.
Yeah. Support is actually pretty good. They have a customer success team. And, you know, if you're not successful on Yelp, they're not doing their job. They have very specific KPIs that they need to hit. And they're usually very good at meeting them. Everyone at Yelp is usually very good at meeting their KPIs, which is something that made me really love the company. Is you're surrounded by hitters, right? Like everyone is great at what they do. And if they're not, they don't stick around for long. So, I think knowing that and the fact that they have a growth mindset, they care about local businesses, they actually do a lot in local communities. While we're kind of on that little life hack, there's a website. I'll send you a link, Jesse. But there's a link to find Yelp elite events in your area. I posted this in the 7-figure thing. But basically what that does is there's a page, and it'll pull up a map of all the upcoming events that Yelp is actually hosting. And if you know anything about Yelp elites, it's basically like a local guide on Google. So it's a more powerful review of people who leave reviews. But think about, let me just throw a hypothetical situation out there. You can find contact information and message directly the community coordinator, I think is the role, the local community coordinator for your city. So if I own a tattoo shop in San Diego and I message the community manager for San Diego's Yelp program, okay, and I say, hey, I own a tattoo shop. I'd love to host an event with Yelp at my business, okay? The amount of tattoo shops that are reaching out doing that, I guarantee you'll be the only one.
So say zero, okay? None.
Guaranteed.
Yeah.
Guaranteed. So if you if you go that far, right, and they reach out to you and they host an event, what they do is they'll partner with other local businesses in the area. You basically have like a pop-up event at your shop, and then all of the elite Yelp reviewers are required, in order to maintain their elite status, to attend multiple events per year. Okay. So they will come out, they will review, and those reviews will stick, and they carry more weight than the average Yelp reviewer. Okay. So huge value bomb to take advantage of that system. And that is a public system. There's no loops that you got to jump through to get that. Just nobody knows about it because they don't advertise it. Right.
Yeah.
It's really, honestly, what it is it's a backdoor for like PR agencies.
Got it.
Is really what that is.
Got it.
So,
does it cost anything or?
Nope, totally free.
Totally free.
You don't even have to advertise. You don't even have to be an advertiser.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep. And then if you want, you can throw some PR juice behind it. You can get local news out, stuff like that. And when Yelp comes to town, as soon as you have that name associated with your business, it's a big deal. Like I have a client that's a little sandwich shop in a small city with like 300,000 people. It's like not a huge city. And that restaurant was named best breakfast sandwich in all of the US. Okay. By Yelp.
Nice.
And the way that they got that was because they hosted a Yelp Elite event.
Got it.
Yeah. So now that they have that, there's a lot of PR opportunities that come up from that because they're ranked number one. So what if you were the number one tattoo studio in all of California? Or, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, there's a lot of power that comes with that. But in order to do that, you have to be in the conversation. In order to be in the conversation, you need to reach out to Yelp. So,
got it.
But they do a lot of stuff like that to really connect with the community. And, it's not just this big faceless corporation. When I was in sales, I had multiple, I was low on the totem pole. I wasn't crazy high up. I was one of the top reps. I stuck around for a while. That was great. And all the fun and all the accolades that came with that. Sure. But I was still an entry-level employee. And I had multiple one-on-one conversations with the VP of sales at the entire business. Right. Wow. And like, they have that transparency. They really care about the employees. They care about the community. They care about their business owners. And there's people whose sole job in the company is to connect business owners with the community. That's the only job that they have. That's all they do. And like I said, they meet their KPIs.
Yeah.
So they got numbers to hit. It's powerful stuff, man.
That's wild.
So, yeah.
I can't, like, Google doesn't do anything like that. Like, I can't think of anybody else that does anything like that.
Yeah. Yeah. So, and people get so hung up on, I got a negative review. Boo-hoo. You can't be perfect every time. Yeah. Get over it. Really. And there was I did say this in the 7-figure agency webinar that I did. But if you pull up your local Denny's on Yelp, I'm like, Jesse, you tell me on a scale of 1 to 5, how would you rate Denny's?
Like a 2.
Okay. So I would be willing to bet money that if you pulled up your local Denny's on Yelp right now on your phone, you would have a 2 to 3 star rating.
Yeah.
Denny's is by and large one of the largest advertisers on the Yelp platform.
Really?
Yes. Okay. And they spend a lot of money with the business, but almost every single Denny's location across all of America is rated 2 to 3 stars. Okay. So
Yeah.
at the end of the day, when you have legitimate review volume, like, yeah, if you get a 1-star review and you only have 5 reviews, it hurts because you only have those 5 reviews. But once you break that threshold of like 100 reviews, to be completely honest with you, I've never seen a business where the rating wasn't an accurate representation of how the business performs. Once you hit that threshold of like 100 plus reviews.
Mm.
And under that, of course, it's going to sting a little bit if you get some negative experiences because it hasn't balanced out to be truly reflective of how you perform as a business. But ultimately, at the end of the day, if you're a 4-star business and you've got 500 reviews, chances are if I go there, I'm probably going to have a 4-star experience.
Yeah.
Keep it real, right? That's probably reflective of what it is as a consumer. And Yelp has done, in my opinion, a really good job once you pass that 100 review threshold of being really accurate with that. And, you know, you need to think about, okay, if at scale, if I get 100 plus reviews, where would my business land? Do I really offer a 4.5 to 5-star experience for my customers? And if you do, you shouldn't worry at all.
Yeah.
Right. But if you don't have that on lock and your AC is always broken, your bathroom is always dirty, your work sucks, your staff is rude, then what do you expect?
Yeah.
You know, you got to fix that foundation that I was talking about earlier. You got to fix that. And once you fix those operational issues, it'll be a true representation that amplifies what you can do. But until you fix that, you know, until you get that right, it's not going to do anything for you.
Yeah, and I love the metaphor of the foundation because,
yeah,
dude, we see it. That's what we see all the time. Even like Google ads, Facebook ads, like we're representing you. We're just, like you said, pouring gas on that fire so more people see you, more people are interested.
Yeah.
But if the work's not there, the shop is dirty, the staff is rude, they submit a consultation request, they don't hear from you from a week. Like,
yeah,
you could spend $10,000 a month. It's not going to change.
it's not going to fix it all.
No, it's not.
Yeah,
it's not.
And then you got to take it a step further. And if you do get the negative reviews and the bathroom is dirty, the staff was rude or whatever, if you're not addressing that in a public forum, then what do you expect to happen? Right. Yeah. So let's take the example again of 2 shops side by side. Bathroom was dirty. We'll use that as an example. If you have 2 shops side by side, one shop doesn't acknowledge it. The other shop says, oh my God, we're so sorry you had that experience. That's not reflective of our usual standards. We've addressed this with our staff. We've made all the necessary changes. This will not happen again. We hope you give us another shot. Right. Who would you choose?
100% the person that responded.
Exactly.
Fixing it. Yeah.
Right. And people are scared of addressing those negative reviews. They just let them go. They only say thank you to the positive ones.
Yep.
Right. But if that's the approach that you take, you don't have any ownership and you show that you're making a change, then you're only as good as the last transaction. Right.
Yeah.
And people are only going to see the negative without any positive from you to correct the issue. So, you know, it just goes into building that trust and laying that foundation and make it deep. That foundation has to stick, right? If you want to build up and keep growing your business, foundation has to be strong.
Yeah.
So that's all the foundational work.
And one thing I wanted to also just kind of tack on to that, responding to reviews, because we also see if someone leaves a negative review, don't start an argument with them in your response. Nope. Don't be an asshole.
Yeah,
exactly. You might feel better, but you look like a jerk. It's worse than, I would say, not responding to it at all. Is when you're picking a fight with them.
I have a like a general rule of thumb that I trickle with my staff and all my clients. I try and say this, make it known, but anything that you say online that's public and on the record, just assume that it's going to end up on the news that night. Mm-hmm. Just assume.
Yeah.
National news coverage. Is that how you want your business to be reflected?
Yeah.
Pretty simple filter.
That is a good one.
Yeah.
That is a good
just
one.
Assume, you know, everyone in the country, presidential address, assume that that's front and center. Yeah. Right. And if you have that filter with every word that you say, whether it's in a private Facebook message or a public review or any interaction that you have with a customer in an email, on a phone call. Assume the phone call is being recorded and it's going to play, right after the presidential address, like literally. Or a Super Bowl commercial or something, right?
Yeah.
Like if you have that filter and you run everything that you say through that, it can just be in the back of your mind. It doesn't have to be like a Post-it note or anything crazy or fluffy or whatever. You don't have to do anything like that. Just think about it though. And is this something that I would be okay with the entire world hearing me say in response to this customer? And just having that little filter, like you shouldn't manage your business emotionally. You should manage it objectively. And, there are going to be tough conversations that need to be had with bad experiences and so on and so forth, but do it in a way where you still protect your brand. And if you can't do that, if you can't put the emotions aside, then in that case, I would say don't respond.
Agreed.
Come back to it, sleep on it, give it 24 hours, then come back and try again. But if you can't put it aside, if it's just a horrible interaction and you don't know how to handle it, sleep on it for a couple days, whatever. But come back to it and don't forget it.
Agreed, man. I know I've had you for almost an hour. I got one more quick question. I'll let you go, man.
For sure, man.
Don't want to take too much of your time.
No, you're good.
I know one of the issues with Google reviews is them just not showing up when somebody leaves one. It's been addressed a handful of times, still seems to be happening. Do you see the same thing on Yelp?
What do you mean when no one shows up?
So like somebody leaves you a positive review and it just never shows up on Google.
Oh, got it. Yeah. So with Yelp, so it happens a lot on Yelp, probably more than Google is what I would say. And this kind of comes down to what I was saying earlier, where like if people find you on the platform, they're more likely to stick around and leave a review there, right? So Yelp's algorithm, and part of why it's so accurate after that 100 review threshold, is because they'll hide reviews if it comes from somebody who doesn't actively use the platform. Oh. Because they could be outside influenced, and they could be like, hey, it's a friend of a friend of a friend of a friend trying to boost my ranking, shoot this, blah, blah, blah. So they sign up, they create an account, they leave a review, then they never touch the app again.
Got it.
So
Got it.
In cases like that, that's usually what's happening. But it also goes both ways. If somebody signs up for Yelp, they had a bad experience with you, they sign up for Yelp, they leave a negative review, and then Yelp will know that as well if they never open the app again, and it'll hide that review eventually and it won't stick forever. It's also like a long-term thing is if that person ends up starting to use the app more and leave more reviews and have friend connections and all that good stuff on Yelp, then that review can come back from the dead. So it's not forever. Okay. It's not forever. Yeah. But it's a fluid algorithm, and that's why it's so powerful and accurate at scale. Right. And, if you think about all the situations on fake profiles and trying to get a review off a profile off the ground, like think about the stories of, hey, I just started a business, leave me a review on Yelp, blah, 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 blah. And right. But Yelp has an obligation to filter that, and they should.
Yeah. Agreed.
Because it's authentic business at that point. And, it's tougher to get off the ground without those hacks and, that growth strategy to kind of get the word of mouth going and get it pumping. But you can accomplish the same thing with $5 a day in Yelp ads. Yeah. Right. And at least that way it's authentic and it's real, and it's not just, a friend of a friend helping someone out.
Yeah. No, I like that they do that. That's pretty solid.
Yeah.
It's a good idea. Awesome, brother. I really appreciate your time. I know it's taking up an hour. That was yeah. I've got to do a lot of research on Yelp now, because again, man, it flew under my radar. Even in our group of people that do this, you're the only person I've ever heard talk about it. It's nuts. It's nuts. So,
well, I hope that helps, man.
A ton, not just for me, but I think everybody out there. Because again, that's a very low cost, long-term marketing strategy.
It is
that nobody else is doing. That's huge.
Yep.
That's huge.
Exactly, man.
So
implement those little small things, make it incrementally better, start with a low budget, do what you can afford and sustain for the long time. And, that's really where you'll get those wins. So
awesome, brother. I appreciate it. Thank you so much.
Absolutely, Jesse. Happy to be here, man. Thanks for having me.
Yep. Bye.
All right, man. Take care.